Hey, this is Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. You know, every once in a while I lose my mind and I decide to try to help some arty players. So here's one of the few times where I've lost my mind. Actually, the reason I'm doing this is there's been a lot of chatter in the forums about SPG 15 War Gods. And when you get to the T55A and to the Object 260, the requirements are pretty high. For the 260, you're going to need 3,000 and be top damage. Above 3,000 damage, be top damage and be top experience. And that's not super easy in a arty, although I will say that the last mission of all the mission 15s, the arty is the easiest. I have probably done it for the 260 without exaggeration a dozen times, at least. So we're on proc, and this is a arty friendly map, as most people know. And I'm in the southern spawn, so I'm going to come over this way and jump into these bushes, which is a pretty standard spot, and other arty know that. So remember, when you fire, you need to be moving. They will be looking for you there if they have any kind of counter plan. I will also say you should have a counter plan, because that is how you are going to help yourself get SPG 15 War Gods done. The reason being is if you hit dark tanks, you get all the experience, you don't have to share it. So the first thing I will do here is look for the tanks that want to come up on the 5 and 6 line. I ignore the light because he's hard to hit. And I'm going to go ahead and wait and see if one of the heavies comes up. There's the T-34. Realize I do have battle assistant. So when you see the crazy view range, or the crazy view, that's the battle assistant. Unfortunately, the replays don't work well with the battle assistant, so it will look like I'm zoomed way out when in fact I'm zoomed pretty far in when I'm using it. Now, in between shots, I will look for tracers coming out of the standard arty position for the north spawn, which is right there. We'll talk about some other places they can be, and I will do that until I get to about somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds. You'll see I shift over to a tank at that point, and now I am looking to shoot tanks. My target goes away, so let's shift back over here. See if the guy's up on the hill. But I notice the guys on the hill are hanging on the back side, so unless something pushes up and over the top, which is where I'm looking right now, I probably won't have a shot. I've also got a bunch of heavies stacked up on the 5-6 line, so I may be getting some spots from guys right there. Again, there's that light. I'm going to leave him alone. And since I am loaded, I'm not going to sit there and stare for too long looking for counterfire opportunities, though I will do this a little bit later. I am just simply looking for something to appear, and there is something. Notice I fire and move. Arty's hard, right? That's 1,300 damage on that poor guy. And that was an example of the battle assistant where it looked like I was really zoomed out. Now I will notice a shot right here, but I am only about halfway loaded, so I'm not going to go ahead and risk the shot right there. I'm wondering if it's the 55-58, because if it is, he's going to shoot again. But I didn't see that shot come out, and I'm seeing some slow heavies hanging out here. Let's see if we can do something with the low, unless he dies, which he does. So again, shifting. And looking for a target. So I'll come back in here. Nothing's lit up, so I will spend some time looking right here. Probably would have been a better idea to be pre-zoomed in an area where there are tanks right at this point. This kind of breaks my rule. I used to spend a lot of time loaded like this looking for counter opportunities. It's a bit of a waste though, because I should be looking over about the D0 area or the backside of the hill waiting for a tank to appear to get a shot on. But I'm not seeing any shots coming out of here, and I do sit here for quite a long time. And there you go. Had I been zoomed in on that hill right there, I probably would have had a quick shot on that T-57. So there's a lost opportunity right there. He goes dark. He's got a friend. Try to take that shot, and 841 off of him. And notice I'm moving. Every time I shoot, I move. Not a lot of people counter, but it is a bummer when your game ends because you're getting too lazy. Oh, look at that. Just had a tracer come out of that bush right there, just to the back of it. Let's see if it's the 55-58. If it is, we can expect another shot. There he is. So I fine-tune where I saw the shot come from. That's 2. He has 4. There's 3. Is there going to be another one here? I just fire and scoot. There is another arty out there, and I end up getting him. So let's talk about that. The reason I am going to get War Gods done on this, and it's pretty close, my experience once you see the end game results, is just above the second place guy, and my damage is decently above. It's enough. But the reason I'm going to get War Gods done is because I hit that guy that was dark, and I owned all that experience. And that is very often the difference between you getting top experience or being second or third. Another technique is to zoom in on a slow tank and shoot at it when it goes dark. The problem with that is it's hard to estimate when he's going to go dark. So you may be holding a shot for a long time, and with arty, the longer you hold shots, the longer you have to wait for a reload, and that can really limit your damage. I was going to go after the scorpion because he's so soft, but he gets nuked by the other, or by the tortoise. Getting ready to zoom in, trying to take this E50. I'm actually going to miss this shot. It goes right over him. It's hard to tell because the battle assistant, the way it is, you see it goes right over him and misses him. But I'm sitting at 2200 damage right now, plus the damage from the dark arty. So realize your damage counters, unless the guy was lit, usually your damage counters will not show the damage real time for dark tanks. Gets a little goofy if it was just lit. I've seen it happen a couple times where it counted just lit guys. Sometimes it's hard to tell. We got a patent right there, and our team's pretty much winning at this point. When you get down to only one enemy arty and you haven't noticed any shots coming in, now there's a juicy target, T95. I'll let that zoom in fully. You haven't noticed any shots coming in. Sometimes it's okay to get a little lazy with the moving, but I still recommend shooting and scooting. And see, I took time to admire my work on that one since he was such a slow T95. But I probably should have zoomed out and moved very quickly. Okay, 95 is still there. I'm reloading now. I'm looking for the other arty. I'm hoping he might be back in these bushes here. Obviously, he's not in the A09 area, or those guys would have lit him up. He's not at the 5-6 line, or the WT would have proxy lit him. So he's got to be probably over in the A12 area over there. But I've got some more tanks lit up I can shoot at. I believe I end up missing this M46 pretty badly. Yep, hits into the train right there. And now I'm doing something you should also consider. I'm on a reload, and we own all of the tank, but all of the map except for about a quarter of it. So I am, during the reload, going to move forward so the time of flight of my shell is shorter. Very unlikely I'm going to get lit. So on any map where you can move forward towards the end game to shorten the time of flight of your shots, that is to your advantage. And I don't think I get any more damage in here because these guys all melt before I can quite get aimed in. Thought I might get something on this T34, but he's kind of moving around. I think he goes away here. Yeah, I don't get there in time. So I shot, but not quite. And there's the arty lit up. Another technique right there would have been, since I knew there were so many guns in the game and those guys were going to melt, was to be pre-aimed back on the A line looking for the arty and snap the shot off as soon as possible. A lot of times what happens right there is your team is shooting at the lit targets, and you know that they're pretty soon going to light up the FV, and since they're all really pointing at the lit targets, you may have just enough time to move your cursor over and fire at that lit arty before your teammates have time to move their guns and reload and get a shot on them. Not the case here. Still a decent technique. And we'll take a look at how it went, but I ended up with number 1 on the experience and number 1 on the damage on this. Would have been good for War Gods. SPG 15 for the 260 or the T55, any of them really, but all the way up to the 260. So hope this helps any of you trying to get that object to the T55. It's actually not that hard to get this mission done. It just requires obviously the right setup. And if I was to recommend a tank to do it, or an SPG in this case, it would be this beast right here. Probably the most OP arty in the game. It's not exactly OP, but if you were going to declare one arty OP, it would probably be this one. All right, take it easy.